Yeah, that fight was. I mean, I say it to a lot of people. I feel like that fight is the reason I'm champion now.
Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now. All right, appreciate you, champ, for coming on. Let's get it right into it, man. Patchy Mix, strong wrestler, strong submission game.
Yeah,
But outside of that, though, what do you
yeah.
see in his skill set?
I see, a hungry fighter, that's pretty driven and feels like he's on the right path now. He's at the best point of his career. I see a hungry fighter that's coming there to try to take what I own, and try to, take some food off of my table. Uh, but other than him, I mean, wrestling, I don't think he's like a strong wrestler. I feel like he's a good grappler. And he's like one of the best, I should say, one of the best grapplers in MMA. But yeah, that's all I see is like a really good grappler.
Let's do some MMA math, man. Mix, he lost to Juan Archuleta, and you head kick knocked out Juan Archuleta. Is there something to that?
Yeah. There is, but there is with a grain of salt. I don't think he's the same fighter that he is or that he was when he fought Juan Archuleta, but I don't feel like I'm the same fighter either. And those two fighters, MMA math would say that I would win. I don't want to look too far into that, because we also have another opponent that he finished, and I got close to finishing, but I didn't finish. So I definitely feel like he's better, but there's things that I know he's not better at, just by looking at the fights he's been in since then, and things that I can expose. So I'm looking forward to do that.
He in his last fight he fought Magomed. You guys share that opponent. And did you think Magomed
Yeah.
looked the same in that fight? Was he kind of off?
I wouldn't say he's off. I would say he was like overconfident. I would say, and a lot of us kind of underestimated Patchy, just because of his previous fight. So I would say Magomed, he kind of overlooked Patchy, and I feel like Magomed kind of overlooked me too. Magomed is I feel like a fighter that got a lot of praise, for beating Peter on, and he's got a lot of praise because he's a Dagestani fighter. Dagestani was really hot, here lately. So I mean, when I fought him, I felt like an arrogance before I fought him. So I felt that same kind of arrogance when he fought. Just like, hey, this is gonna be, I'm gonna get through this, where I didn't see that when he fought the guy before, Barbosa, I think it was. Um, I feel like he felt threatened by Barbosa. He didn't feel threatened by Patchy, and that's kind of how he fought.
One thing that I noticed about you in your career so far with Bellator is that you make really good decisions inside the cage. And that's fight IQ, right?
Yeah,
That's something that
yeah,
a lot of fighters don't even have. They just go in there and fight, man. They don't even make adjustments. They just,
yep,
sometimes they get I don't want to say lucky, but sometimes they do get that shot and get finishes, right? Was there a fight in
yeah.
the past, let's say a couple years, that you made like the most adjustments throughout the fight and it really benefited you, like moving forward with your career?
Yeah, there's a couple fights where I had to make adjustments and kind of change the game plan. One was the Juan Archuleta fight. Another was the Magomed fight. And it's a lot of. I feel like because Patchy, one of the things he has to say about me is that I'm not a finisher. He's this amazing finisher. Um, but like if you look at his finishes, they all coming from the same place. Whereas I'm like dissecting what's going on in front of me in the cage, and I have the ability to change my game plan accordingly, and that's another reason why I'm not like I was training in the same gym as him and Sergio, and I don't really care about you like seeing what I do, because at the end of the day, if I'm throwing a straight left and you start adjusting to that, I'm gonna make an adjustment to that adjustment. That's just I'm a cerebral fighter. I think about those type of things, and I'm doing what's most efficient. What should work well, and I understand martial arts and I understand why I'm doing things. So that's why it's funny to me that you say that, because most fighters, they don't realize that. they think that I'm just this wrestler, and then I got good at kickboxing. I just got good at these things. No, I understand these things. I've done deep dives into these these facets of MMA. So yeah, that's I appreciate you noticing it.
You only have one blemish on your record, and it was a fight that only
Yeah,
lasted for 15 seconds. Did that
yeah.
fight alter anything in you or your preparations?
Yeah, that fight was I mean, I say it to a lot of people. I feel like that fight is the reason I'm champion now. Um I learned a lot, I learned a lot from that fight, and the main thing that I learned, that when I'm in a fight, I need to be in the fight. I need to be present. I need to be, watching everything that's going on. I got to be taking notes while I'm fighting. I got to be there in the moment. Because that fight, that was probably the most not present, absent I was like mentally. I was just kind of going through the motions in the fight and thinking about what would happen after, like, oh man, now I'm gonna get signed to this big promotion and now I'm gonna be, this top guy and I can start, rolling. And I was thinking like, yeah, this Dana White has brung me in, and I'm the guy and everybody's looking for me. I just got to get through the motions of this fight, and I also realized that when people fight me, it's the biggest fight, it's the hardest fight, that they're gonna have, at least on paper, so they come in, with a like a nervous energy. Some people come, to try to take my head off. They know it's gonna be they gotta fight the fight of their lives to win, and so that's what that fight taught me, to that I have to take into account, how this guy or that this guy wants, the same thing I want. And he's in the same position. Nothing that we've done in the past matters. Nothing that's going to happen in the future matters until we do this thing, which is the fight.
And Mix, man, he's a tricky fighter, and he's also physically
Yeah,
he's built different than a lot of guys that you faced in the
yeah.
past. How has it
Mhm.
been? You know what I mean? Focusing a little bit more on the jiu-jitsu stuff for this camp, preparing for Mix.
Yeah, it's been I mean, it's been good because uh I'm always grappling, that's just like a part of my training. When I started MMA, I started, everything, BJJ. I'm a brown belt, and then kickboxing, of course. So like it's been good, and I've also got to go to Washington and train with Ryan Hall and get like expertise and like finite details. I got amazing coaches here at Travis Cooks. Um, yeah, so it's been fun, and it's that ultimately like why I love MMA. I think it's the learning new stuff. So when I can pick up new tricks to better myself and better my career, it's always fun. So I'm definitely a better fighter after this camp because I've figured some more things out, going forward. So I'm excited to show them.
Yeah, with the jiu-jitsu preparation, right? You got to be like you got to start from like really dangerous positions, right? Because you have
Yeah,
to be prepared to be
yeah,
in that spot if it just ever happens. You never know, you know what I mean? And you're gonna
yeah,
lose. You're gonna lose sometimes in practice. You know what I mean? How do you
yeah,
get over that?
yeah.
Like how do you feel like after you have a bad day and you're like, fuck, man, maybe this shit like how do you get over those like
Yeah.
doubts?
I mean, those for me are just like, I mean, it's exciting because it's like, man, I can only get better.
Yeah,
I can only
yeah.
get better. I can't do, at least I know not to do that, again. And I always look at it like, and I look at, every technique I learn is like, okay, now I'm harder to kill. Like every freaking thing I learn, I'm harder to kill. And I get harder and harder to kill throughout, till I'm indestructible. Um, but yeah, so that's kind of how I look at it. So, and also I tell my training partners, I always like mention with them, like, hey, come at me, like try to get me, try to choke me out, try to, you know what I mean, hold me down. Like I need that, like, because it's in other or the training means nothing if they're not giving me their all. So that's it's fun. It's fun to me to
Yeah.
to become harder to kill.
Fighters are built different, man. Because most people, if they train like that, and they're just like hobbyists, they would not go back. You know what I mean? They'd just be like, fuck that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. You can really tell. Yeah, fighters are definitely different because most of them have they went to the gym and then got the shit kicked out of them and was like, fuck, that was like I need to go back and do that again. That was, I mean, that's what happened to me in jujitsu. That's how I ended up at Rufus Sport. I went. My coaches at Militich were like, hey, you should go try out Rufus Sport and see how it is. I went or whatever, and then I did like a sparring or whatever, but it was with an amateur team. And then I did some grappling with the amateur team. And then the professor, Daniel Wanderley, he was like, hey, like this looks a little too easy for you. So hey, come over here, let me do some rounds with you or whatever. And so we did some rounds and he freaking tapped me probably like 5 times in that round. And I was like, this is at this point, this was never me being out grapple has never happened, you know. This was my first experience with like a legitimate black belt, and from that moment I was like, I'm coming back here at the very least because I gotta beat that freaking Brazilian dude. Like I got to, you know. I'm not a man unless I come back and beat this Brazilian dude. So yeah,
Yeah, that's great, man. I want to talk about your last fight, man, against Danny Sabatella. The reason why I want to talk about
yeah,
it is because I feel like that was like a perfect lead up fight to prepare
yeah.
for Patchy Mix. Do you
Yep,
see that?
exactly. Yeah, I definitely think that. To be honest, like I said, this that was like a prelude to this fight. You know, that was like a prelude test for this fight. So yeah, and you know, you had somebody that was going to be strictly wrestling and strictly, you know, trying to grapple with me. So yeah, that was perfect for what I have coming up. And I learned a lesson too, like with that fight, like I can't underestimate any of these grapplers, because I'm human, you know. And so like if you don't use it, you lose it. And so for that Sabatello camp, I had zero wrestlers wrestling at me. I just didn't bring anybody in, to refresh my, mechanics in wrestling. So I just kind of went in there like, he gonna try to take me down, I'm gonna stuff him and I'm gonna what's the name, which I stuffed like 15 of them,
Yeah,
he shot 19 times, I stuffed
yeah,
15 of them. But I should have been more prepared, for a fighter because he is a tricky fighter to figure out.
yeah, man. The pace that he put on was commendable, man. Like he was just
Yeah,
on it. Like this is what I'm gonna do. And
coming.
this tournament,
Yeah,
it's kind of like been like a video game for you. You know what I mean? Like every round you go
yeah,
up. Like last fight, like you fought Danny, he had the wrestling, he was constantly on you, the pressure. And then
yeah,
the next step up is a guy that's just like a better version of Danny with the
yeah.
submissions and the jujitsu,
The
right?
boss level,
Yeah, the
boss
bot.
level.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, now
Yeah.
he's actually like dangerous with the
Mhm.
that. So, but the other thing is, I don't feel like his wrestling like entries are the same as Sabatello. Sabatello is like kind of shooting through, driving, diving from long distances. He has a really good like shot. He has a really good takedown shot. Patchy Mix doesn't really have that. Patchy Mix is kind of a almost like a Greco-Roman type of he kind of shucks you by and he don't really attack legs that often. Not saying that he can't, but he doesn't do it often in fights. So it'll be interesting to see, what his game plan is and what he comes in there and tries to do and gets denied doing. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, man. How do you envision yourself, man, when you like lay your head down at night and you're thinking about the fight? How do you envision yourself getting your hand
Yeah.
raised?
I think I'm gonna just keep I'm because so the other thing I will give Patchy credit for is being durable. I've seen people put a lot of leather on him, and he just makes an ugly face and, and comes forward. So I'm gonna just hit him until the fucking ref decides he's had enough of me hitting him. I think I have the better cardio. I think I have the better striking. I think I have the better wrestling. Grappling. I feel like he has the better grappling, but I'm more than equipped to handle that and defensively grappling. I don't feel like he's gonna be able to submit me or do anything. So I'm gonna beat the shit out of him until the ref tell me not to beat the shit out of him. That's how I see it. That's how I see it going.
So you want to have a fight where people are like yelling from the stands to stop the fight because you're beating them up so
Yeah,
badly.
yeah, because I'm beating the shit out of him so bad that the ref is just